One, go. It's Sunday and it's time to wait a minute. What's going on?
You're so out of the loop right now because we haven't been around for like
We have
2
been
weeks.
either that
How
or,
did that happen, Gary? Normally you get that flow and you just keep it going, keep it going.
Either that or the edibles are kicking in. No, it is Sunday and it's time to jump into the rotation.
Hi, Gary.
Yeah, cue our
Oh shit! Man, I am just rusty myself, man.
see, this is what happens. This is what happens when you do RS.
You see, Gary just showed everybody that while I'm sleeping, I sleepwalk. But the only thing I do when I sleepwalk is I eat RSO. So I wake up stoned every single morning, and it's the best thing ever.
It's an agnostic thing.
It's an atheist thing, actually. I couldn't do it while I was an agnostic.
Now, and this is the whole thing. That was obviously a joke, right? And jokes mean that you're not quite telling the truth.
A little bit. So
I'm getting a lot of background noises. We have a crowd in here.
As if we have a crowd in here? I don't know.
You hear it?
Maybe it's just like the music playing in the store or something.
That's probably what it is.
Well, I can turn the gain down.
Because we actually do this show before Chillum opens.
I turned the gain down just a little bit. But okay, so we haven't been around for 2 weeks.
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Well, I was around. I just wasn't here.
I'm gonna go ahead and admit that we just don't have anything really planned for this show. We're just gonna bullshit.
Wait a minute. We've ever had things planned before?
Well, we at least like sit down and like you come in with your paperwork and you're like, this is the news that I'm going to talk about. And then Kano sends me links that he wants me to put up. Kano's like bleeding from the ears right now. Some
bleeding ear
happened.
Liberal.
Bleeding ear liberal up in Washington, D.C. wants to legalize marijuana.
Marijuana, is that a racist word?
It is not a racist word. It is a Spanish term, and it is racist for a white man to tell a Hispanic man not to say it. We're just going to bullshit this whole time. Let's just fucking argue the entire time. We're really good at arguing with each other. Let's just argue about something.
First off, let's get some serious stuff done here. Obviously, I couldn't keep up with your beard, so I had to get rid of mine.
Yeah, what happened?
Actually, I was kind of like trimming it a little bit and then trimming it a little bit more, and then realized that the other side wasn't even. So I said, screw it and just knock the whole thing off.
I kind of I like you with a beard. Like, don't get me wrong, but I like you better without the beard because, like, I like to think of you like Gary in the suit walking through the halls of Tallahassee, and he's like, this is a professional guy. That
I am looking forward to doing Tallahassee again. It's been a while because last year everything was locked down.
Yeah.
Which, of course, didn't help because the advocates couldn't get full access to everybody. And so, therefore, they pulled a lot of crap last year.
They pulled a bunch of bullshit, right?
Absolutely.
We can't. I don't know what happened. I'll just admit it.
All right. Well, first off, I do want to put out just one thing before we get on to the serious stuff. And that is prayers or whatever you want to do it, call out to the folks over in Louisiana because they have a bit of wind and rain coming their way.
Yeah.
By the name of Ida that 16 years ago wiped out the entire city.
Yeah.
A city that I called home for a couple of years. I went and checked Google first afterwards, and my entire building was gone.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you lived there.
Yeah, I did. As was part of the CDC back in.
Yeah, my roommate this morning pulled up that fact that 4 years ago to the day there was a Category 4 or something like that. I remember a bunch of 4s.
Yeah, Katrina was 16 years ago to the day.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to hit at 150 mile an hour winds, and so and nobody has left.
Mm-hmm.
So we wish that we hope that everything that the Army Corps of Engineers worked on over the last 15 years holds.
Yeah, me too, man.
Because to the good folks over in Baton Rouge and my friends over at LSU, and to the good folks of Louisiana Normal, we wish you all well and duck and cover.
I don't know if that helps with hurricanes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got so many damn things going on. I mean, it practically is a plague.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are we supposed to be leaving here and heading out to Egypt? Otherwise, we're going to get one more thing happening over here.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm starting to believe in God.
Oh my God!
Yeah, because I am. That's the only way that I can get hope in these trying times.
I mean, and it does not help, of course, that we have fake information out there,
No, so bad.
and and it's not just. It's not just the COVID stuff that's coming up as misinformation. We've been dealing with misinformation in the cannabis industry
Really?
for
I
years
had
and years and
no
years.
idea that there was misinformation in the cannabis industry.
I mean, that is actually how we got prohibition in the first place.
Really?
Was fake news, and so we have to fight it at every single instance.
Well, like there's fake news on both sides of the coin, though. Like
Yes.
there's a lot of marijuana activists that think they know what they're talking about.
Yes.
And these people, like, I like to think of myself as a professional marijuana activist, meaning like professionals such as Gary Stein here.
Well, that would mean I get paid, doesn't it?
Well, no. That means that you at least acknowledge that I have contributed to the profession.
Absolutely.
So, and vice versa, right? So I forgot where I was going with that. But
we're talking about fake information.
But like, dude, like
on both
marijuana
sides.
activists need to realize that they have a big responsibility to tell the truth,
Mhm.
and you can't just make assumptions and shit.
Right. I mean, we had assumptions at the very beginning that don't worry, if you smoke cannabis, you won't get COVID. Wrong.
Well, that's obviously wrong because I totally got COVID.
You did.
And I was smoking weed the entire time I had COVID, and I still had COVID.
How did you know you had COVID then?
I took the test.
Oh, okay.
And it said that I was that. Well, I mean, I kind of found out like after I had COVID that it was COVID, but I still smoked weed the entire time, and I still was sick.
I saw one of these cute little memes the other day where it says that cannabis cures cancer, which in certain circumstances it does, in a certain dose, in a certain method, in a certain way of being put out. It does. However, it does, on the next frame it says, but that's funny. How did Bob Marley die of brain cancer? Well, maybe because he didn't have the right strain. He didn't have the right dosage. I mean, and that is basically the way it goes. The Rick Simpson protocol is very specific as to what kind of a product you need. In his case, he believed in RSO that was made from White Widow, and to make certain that all the solvent, of course, is out also helps. And that is how he was able to treat people's cancer. But it is not just grab any any pre-roll and all of a sudden you've got a cure for cancer in your hand.
Saw a meme the other day that said some people say they don't like pickles, but they just haven't found the right strain.
I happen to like new garlic dills.
Bread and butter chips, buddy. No, because
pickles can't be sweet. We have a whole show on that later on.
I heard that Bob Marley died because he had like cancer in his toe or something like that.
No, he had brain cancer. He had glioma.
He had glioma. Yeah, okay. Or yeah, whatever.
Which is also interesting because a lot of people don't realize that he smoked a lot of hemp as opposed to just cannabis all the time. Isn't that not correct?
That is correct.
And he used what kind of pipe?
Chillum.
There you go.
Yeah, that's kind of pipe.
I mean, that is what you sell here, I believe.
Yeah. We've got a few of them. We've got a few. It's not the only one.
I've never quite gotten the hang of using chillum. Using a chillum. However, when I smoke a joint, usually I use the chillum method of putting it in between the fingers and all that bit, and just doing that bit.
Why can't you smoke a chillum that way?
Because I keep on getting ash in my mouth.
And
I mean, sometimes you don't want your mouth to taste like ash.
Don't suck.
And I am using the H at the end there, by the way.
Don't suck so hard, Gary.
Is that the problem? I suck far too hard. Damn it. See, this is the reason why we probably couldn't be on regular radio.
I mean,
people might just take things the wrong way. But
we had to clean it up the few times that we were on.
Yeah,
the actual radio.
Have a little cough button every time that I want to start saying something crazy.
I remember we had Joe Rogan on the show one time, and he just like was so like he gets on those rants and he like gets so pissed, and he's just like at the end of it he was like, "And I don't give a fuck." and me and Karen were just like looking at each other. It's like, oh well, if they charge us, he can pay for it.
Now, Joe Rogan, he does bring people on his show that have alternate views. And sometimes you can take him down and sometimes you can't. I remember that great show where he had Alex Berenson, one of my favorite fake news proprietors.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Berenson, for those of you who don't know, had a book called Tell Your Children, which ironically or not ironically was the actual original name of the movie that became Reefer Madness.
Uh-huh.
And his whole concept was that after all this major research that he did as somebody who's not actually a doctor or an epidemiologist or anything else, he had decided that cannabis, that actually high THC levels, cause first-time psychosis. And they use the basis for that in a number of times. They've been trying to create THC caps.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of THC caps, well, we'll get to that later because I'm going to be ranting. But Berenson obviously has a lot of issues with the truth. I mean, not ironically, he also came on a couple of shows, and he went to CPAC and talked about how COVID was basically a fake, and masks don't work, and the vaccines are all going to kill you, and all that kind of stuff. So when you hear that stuff, remember that Alex Berenson is the one who's pushing this agenda, and you have to ask yourself who you should be following as far as looking for the facts are concerned, because we don't all know the facts. We aren't all experts. Well, at least I'm not an expert.
I'm an expert.
You're an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's try a test here.
Okay.
What is live resin? You have 5 seconds.
It is they take the nugs before they cure it, and then they extract everything out. So like the terpenes, like while it's still wet, so like the terpenes are the most intact.
Okay, and
right?
so exactly, and so live resin, and it's called live because you are actually getting the actual trichomes which grew on the live plant, and that's what you're getting. You're not. It is a solventless process, correct?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like the plant's technically still living.
Exactly right.
While you're extracting.
So let me ask you a question.
I never got that before.
If you sat in a lab and took some THC and some cannabis-derived terpenes, and some distillate, and you put it together in a little pot, would you call that live resin?
No.
Okay, well, we have at least one dispensary that we know of that is pushing a product right now, which they call live meringue, which is neither, well, I don't know where the meringue came from, except for the fact that that's usually whipped eggs. But they're calling it a live product.
Well, how can you do that? How is that possible?
You can by lying, Bob. That's what it comes down to. And far be it from me to be critical of people, but I'm going to anyway. I think it's important that, especially since we have a medical program, it's important that people know exactly what they're having and that they're getting the truth told to them exactly when they're purchasing a product, especially when it comes to looking for a product which treats a particular disease, like, for instance, cancer. I mean, you don't want to have a product which was not meant to do it actually as your treatment, because the results might not be good.
Well, Gary, this is something that happens quite often in the cannabis industry. And I'll say something from years ago when I worked in a dispensary. We had this strain called Candy Bananas that tasted just like banana annihilators, right? It wasn't selling very well. So my boss just like out of nowhere, right, was like, you know what, we're going to call it Banana Kush from now. Right. So, you know, and he's taking something, it is serious what's happening here. I mean, a lot of people shrug this shit off, but like it's serious what's happening here. If somebody is like looking for Banana Kush, right? If you need Kush for your own specific medical condition,
and
this dude goes and tries to buy Banana Kush because he needs Kush and he loves bananas, he's not gonna get the medicine he needs, right? So this happens quite often in the industry, but like this is at a new level, man. Like I'm honestly thinking like they got some concentrates that looks old and it looks kind of like separated like live resin kind of does.
Yeah.
And they just fucking was like, you know what, just call it live resin. Nobody will give a shit. Right?
Call it anything you want. Well, they'll buy it anyway, right?
At
$95 a gram.
Add some limonene. Just add limonene. That's the truly way. Or the I'm sorry.
See, now you blew it. Now you're not. Now everybody knows who are knocking down right now, and we do this out of love, guys. Right? If we're here, if we criticize you, it's because we want you to do better for the patients and for the consumer.
So speaking about that MMTC, though, I mean the live resin thing is like it's kind of just like a new thing. It's not like this has been like something the FBI has investigated or anything like that.
No, they didn't investigate that.
They didn't investigate that, right?
They have been investigating a lot of things in New Orleans, right? Not New Orleans, in Nevada.
Uh-huh.
They are investigating the entire program in regards to how they give out licenses because they seem to believe that some licenses were gotten by giving certain politicians money under the table, and they suddenly got their license.
But
Can you believe that?
in Florida?
No, in Nevada.
In Nevada.
Yeah, and they have given out what 700 licenses out there because, of course, in Nevada, every single individual store has to have their own license. It's not like here in Florida where you can have one license and 100 dispensaries, of which we congratulate.
So 700 different dispensaries have bribed the government in Nevada.
Well, they're not different products, they're not different brands.
Only 22 here. Oh, something went off. It's back on.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, actually, here in Florida, if you want to break it down, we have 22 licenses, of which only 5 were given out via a competitive application process. The rest of them were given out via via lawsuits, and there's actually a lawsuit still going on right now since the very beginning. Tropiflora, who has still not gotten their license yet because they're still fighting it in court. And that first application we were supposed to have gotten for the Black Farmers Association, that's still being challenged. And yet the folks over in Tallahassee, who I guess are going to have a new boss pretty soon because the Surgeon General, who's the head of the Department of Health, is leaving. I guess he's had enough of our governor and his certain bent on science. But that's probably going to change a few things as well because he's in charge of that, and we have it set up in the constitutional amendment that the Department of Health would be in charge of the cannabis program.
Well, the Department of Health is having a hard time keeping people's health up with DeSantis as their governor.
So I've heard. It's kind of like if you look at a heat map of all the cases and hospitalizations and fatalities in the country, Florida is on fire.
Okay.
Across the entire country, there's all sorts of problems with. They haven't got morgues big enough, but Florida is definitely on fire. So we tell everybody, we know what you may have heard. Just take precautions because this is nothing to mess with. And cannabis is not going to save you this time.
You should smoke more weed. You need stronger. You need Delta 10 because of the Delta variant.
Well, I don't know about Delta 10 yet. I haven't even tried Delta 10. It is a minor cannabinoid which does exist, but you have to do something to the hemp to actually make it come out, just like Delta 8. And that is one of the topics we also wanted to bring up today because there's a lot of false information in regards to Delta 8 coming out across the country. And there are a number of states that have already made it illegal to have, but it's not illegal in Florida at this point in time. They have not, at least they haven't done it yet. They were going to last session, and there was a bill that came out, but it didn't pass. And yet, even if you Google the situation, you found it still looks as if you cannot buy it unless you're at least 21.
Well, I mean, it's just Google doesn't write laws. Google has like this search algorithm, and in this particular case, if you Google what's the age to buy Delta 8 THC, it's 21 year old comes up. But it's just describing a bill that Gary was just talking about that just didn't pass, didn't get anywhere.
We had a lot of bills this last. In fact, we had a huge amount of bills last session that didn't pass. That didn't even get into their first committee. Hopefully, that will change this year. Hopefully, we will actually have a better session, and we are working on it right now. Florida NORML, Suncoast NORML especially. We already have bills already set up to push through. We've already been talking to various senators. We had a meeting with the president of the Senate and also the head of the Department of Regulated Businesses as well to talk about the possibilities of changing the rules and regulations to make things a little bit easier. But last year they were also caught up on protest bills, anti-protest bills and that kind of thing, and the voting rights bills that had less to do about creating more voting rights and more taking them away, and also the things about the ballot initiatives. But we will hopefully get new bills coming up this year. We do have a revised employee protection bill, a patient protection bill, so you can't be taken off of the registry for getting a organ transplant if you need it. Reciprocity bills so that people from other states who have a medical card can actually get product over here in Florida. These things just seem like no-brainers. And some of the other states have them, but we don't. And of course, there's the expansion of qualifying conditions. Because right now, if you have the law says if you have a debilitating condition, that means that you're qualified to get a medical card. But they only list 10 conditions, of which the last one is actually kind of a catch-all, saying conditions of a like or similar nature.
Yeah, basically leaving it up to the doctor. But the doctor, like, there's a lot of doctors in Florida that are scared to lose their license for recommending marijuana. So like they get the ability to actually like recommend cannabis. They go through this whole class or whatever they're supposed to do. Like what is it, like an 8-hour, 2-hour course or something?
It used to be an 8-hour course. It was
No.
all about cannabis. Now it's a 2-hour course. It's all about the rules and regulations.
Right. So like they
Not
really
good.
they really don't know how to recommend cannabis. As a matter of fact, I'm going to rant about a story in a minute. But but like, okay, so I had this lady come in, right? And she bought some gummies, and then like a day later her husband calls. And
You mean soft chews, right?
so no, this is a hemp dispensary. We sell Delta 8 THC gummies,
Okay.
right? And then she
Because
calls.
gummies is a bad word.
Why is it a bad word?
Because kids eat gummies.
Oh, that's.
And just so you know, I ate gummies yesterday, and I'm not a kid. I'm just saying.
Like, yeah, like with that, there's adult vitamins that are gummies. Anyways, the
There's goji gummies.
husband calls in, right, and is like, okay, so my wife bought these gummies the other day, right, and the first day she took one and she felt really good. It was really great for her. And then the second day she took one again and the same thing, and she felt really good. Third day though, she ate two. She ate two gummies, right? And on the third day when she ate two gummies, right, she got lightheaded, she felt nauseous, she didn't, and I was like, oh, this guy's wife just got really high and they're confused, they want to talk to me about it. But I ended up asking him, right, does this woman have is anything wrong with her blood flow at all? Is she on any type of medicine that's going to cause like an impeded blood flow? Does she have any condition that causes impeded blood flow? And he's like, yeah, actually she's on blood pressure medication right now. And a lot like and I was like, well, THC actually impedes blood flow. If she's on that type of medication,
It reduces blood pressure.
Yeah. If she's on that type of medication, she might not want to take THC, right? And he's like, well, we went to the doctor, and the doctor said the doctor.
That's a bad beginning altogether, right
the
there.
doctor recommended that she should have cannabis, and I'm like, dude, listen.
Oh, I like that guy then.
There's no that's great that the doctor recommended cannabis, but like the doctors really don't know what they're talking about. They don't teach this in medical school,
no,
right?
There are classes coming up around the country, but not very many of them.
The continuing education, right? Like there's some continuing education on it, but like there's really not a lot. A lot of these doctors really don't know what this shit does. They just do it to to increase their profits.
We need to have a Tampa Cannabis University, don't you think?
That that existed.
I'm just saying.
But no, and then on the other side of the coin, you have doctors that like want to be able to make the money for recommending cannabis,
yes,
but they want to protect their licenses.
Yes.
So instead of going to the doctor and saying, hey, I feel this, I think it's an issue, can I get cannabis for it, right? A lot of times doctors would be like, listen, I can't get that from here. All right, you're going to have to see another guy. He's going to have to say that you have this condition. And then I'll go ahead and be like, oh, I concur. And then give you the medical marijuana. That's how doctors talk. I concur.
You concur. So here's the problem. We have these two boards that are appointed through the governor's office called the Board of Medicine, the Board of Osteopathic Medicine, otherwise known as the BOM and the BOOM. That's BOM and BOOM. And these are the guys who actually scrutinize every single doctor's recommendation at one point in time to decide whether or not they felt that they properly interpreted the law. And that includes not only chronic pain for a listed condition and the condition of a like or similar nature. So if you have generalized anxiety syndrome, they're going to want to say, well, that's kind of like PTSD, and so therefore it is. But not all generalized anxiety is based on a PTSD situation. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's some mental gymnastics, which might turn out not in their favor. So that's why we need an expansion of qualifying conditions that includes things like generalized anxiety syndrome, that includes autism, that includes sickle cell syndrome, that includes opioid dependence syndrome.
Mhm.
These kind of things should be written into the law so that there's no question, so that doctors can go ahead and just give you your card exactly for what you have.
Mhm.
And that's one of the bills we have, and it also kind of connects to the employee protection bill, which is in part based on the the Americans with Disabilities Act, which basically states that in your workplace, if you have a disability, they have to have accommodations for your particular condition.
2 years ago, I would have said, why do we need to add those things to the laws? We just need to legalize marijuana,
Yep.
right? We don't need no doctors telling us what to do. But turns out that shit's even crooked too. And we have to protect patients' rights.
It is.
So-
It makes things difficult. I mean, you start out at a point where you have zero regulations and the plant is free and all that kind of stuff. And then you add one regulation, another regulation, another regulation. How do you back up? A lot of people have been saying that if we become federally legal, we won't have to worry about all these state regulations and things of that sort. Things are going to go away. I got news for you guys, and I'm in favor of them pushing towards federal legalization. But the bill as it currently stands federally is going to need some tweaking too, because right now it hands a lot of things over to big pharma to take over the industry.
Yeah,
And
I ain't trying to deschedule marijuana. All right, I ain't trying to get the pharmaceutical. Pfizer's got the vaccine.
Yep.
And they're gonna get my weed too.
Yeah, Pfizer, stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay out of there. Johnson & Johnson too. Moderna, I'm looking at you, Moderna. Stay away from my weed.
I mean, it gets to but the thing is about the rules. It does state that if it does pass, that states are still allowed to make their own rules and regulations, which can sometimes be a good thing, sometimes be a bad thing. Like for instance, New Jersey just came up with their new rules and regulations, and they offer people a chance to opt out. And what do you think happened in New Jersey? As for all the localities and municipalities,
But
a lot of them are opting out, so you won't have accessibility to cannabis on an adult use in New Jersey as you thought you could, because there'll be a lot of counties where it will not be available.
did New York do anything yet?
New York is working on it. We are told that the new governor wants to accelerate the program. There's a bit of a push me, pull you thing going on right now in regards to New Jersey and New York. They're not certain, if whoever gets it first, are there going to be folks jumping on the Tappan Zee Bridge and going across the way and picking up stuff and bringing it into the other state, which is very much possible. I mean, I'm certain that the people in Georgia and Alabama have been going across the border and trying to pick up stuff over here, but they can't because you have to have a medical card here in the state of Florida. And of course, I've been hearing that they are worried that if ever we have adult use here in Florida, that people are going to be buying stuff in Florida and then taking it across the line to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, where they are not as liberal as Florida is, if you can actually believe that. But the fact is, we did get the first medical program in the Deep South. And we do have the largest, with the exception of California, amount of patients. We have about 600,000 patients, making it the largest medical program. The question is it a medical program? But that's another topic.
I mean, you need the doctor, I guess. So Gary, typically at like 20 minutes into the show, we start your news segment, but like we're doing real informal shit. Do you want me to like play that video at all?
I almost hate you playing for that video, but go ahead and do it anyway, just so we can say we did. And
I mean, if you don't like it, then I guess, I mean, you just got to come up with
Don't you have your
name.
segment set up yet?
I don't.
All right, well, then go ahead and run it. We'll just go from there.
Okay. That is not the video. There's something going on with the software again. The chat feature
is
like
for glitch.
Up. Look, like you can't even get the chats up here.
Yeah, where's our chats?
You can't get them up. I gotta just display them.
Okay.
Panhandle and South Florida are two completely different worlds.
Well, we have people who are writing into us, though. Can you see some of those things and say?
I'm putting them at the bottom of the screen right now.
Okay.
I'll get rid of the overlay though.
Yeah, Maine is great. Dustin Sulak. If you ever have a chance to have him as your doctor, go straight to his clinic. The man is absolutely amazing. Wouldn't you agree?
What happened?
Dustin Sulak, the guy with the pigtail, who's friends with Greg Gerdeman. He is probably one of the best doctors in Maine.
I don't think I know the guy.
Ah, my goodness, he's wonderful.
So
He is so intelligent.
DRS Metal here says that there's Christians trying to set up roadblocks to stop a true leaf from opening. Where is this from, DRS Metal?
Yeah,
Durst Metal.
That sounds like a panhandle kind of thing. But you and I, we went to a lot of town halls and things of that sort, and city council meetings and county commission meetings to stop moratoriums from being put in place. And we got blown out of the water in Temple Terrace, did we not?
Yeah, of course. Temple Terrace don't like us.
Especially the mayor, who in her closing remarks after all of our fantastic testimony, just said, "Just so you know, a friend of mine died because of cannabis." Now, is there any other questions?
Yeah, she needs to prove it.
Well, she claimed it had to do with an auto accident, but she didn't even mention the fact whether or not that person was also drunk. And there is a big difference in regards to cannabis and alcohol and the way it works. I love the way that Joe Redner always says it. He says that alcohol makes you think you can drive when you can't. But cannabis makes you think you can't drive when you can. And that's actually true for those people who have not been too heavily into psychology and things of that sort. There's a thing called the id and the and the ego, and the id is basically your instinct drives, and the ego is your decision making ability. It's the fight or flight kind of situation.
So I'm the ego and you're the id.
That's basically the way it works. And what cannabis does is it accelerates the ego, so you're thinking a lot.
Yes.
So therefore, when you come to a stoplight, you wait for it to turn green. You come to a stop sign, you wait for that to turn green too, just to be on the safe side.
I remember that joke.
Or all of a sudden, you look at your hand, and you see things in your hand you've never seen before because your mind is just thinking more than it ever usually does. However, alcohol pushes the id, so you go into basically instinct overdrive, and you aren't actually thinking as much as you are acting. And that's why you don't mind plowing through a red light, because
I was looking
liberties, right?
I was looking at my hand before the show.
Yeah,
fucking dope.
Well, that's was written on your hand. Somebody put it on there last night.
No, that's not
well, you watched with the hand sanitizer, right?
No, man. Dude, like being out here in the middle of Ybor City, I fucking hate alcohol now. I really do. I used to be I used to take pride in how good of a drinker I am. I used to take a lot of pride in that. And I'm at the point now where I haven't had a drop of alcohol maybe in about a year. And it's not even like I'm like sober. It's just like I just don't want to. It's not something I desire anymore.
Yeah.
But like I see people out here at 2:00 in the morning, Friday, Saturday night. Everybody's out here trying to have a good time. Nobody looks like they're having a good time. Everybody's crying. Like girls are crying on the sidewalk because they're arguing with their boyfriends. Boyfriends are out there trying to fight each other, right? Like everybody's sweaty. People are yelling. People are screaming. Doesn't look like fun to me. Right.
I took my oldest daughter to a Gasparilla once, and she once said they should really have a large patch of grass next to every single area so that people can fall down and face down first and throw up in a soft place.
No, she's absolutely right.
Because
sometimes you see people Gasparilla just like fucking pass out on the sidewalk.
Isn't that fun?
When was the last time you passed on the sidewalk when you smoked, Gary?
I have never done that.
You've never done that? Neither have I. Huh.
Maybe it's something I should work on, but I don't think it's something in my bucket list at this point.
No, I don't think that's going to end up happening.
But we obviously are going to be in changing times, and we do know that right now alcohol companies are actually taking in the possibility of getting into the industry. Yep. And they already have in certain instances. We have Certera, who has already had a vodka executive. He had the CEO. So where do you think that's going? And of course, if it goes fairly legal, I can guarantee you the tobacco companies are going to jump into the fray. And it's going to make things even more difficult for people who want to have a mom and pop industry when this actually might just become a commodity at that point in time.
I don't know. I think if you're trying to get into the cannabis industry for money, you're getting into it for the wrong reasons.
There you go.
And
so there's
even
22
now,
licenses out there here for the wrong reason.
Even now, you're not going to be able to get into it for the. I mean, I guess if you're Joe Schmo, Gary, if you're a corporation trying to get into it, then like go ahead. But if you're trying to do mom and pop, trying to make money, you're not going to. I really think that the next wave is mushrooms, man, psilocybin. I think a lot of people that are eager to get into the cannabis industry just to make some money should just do that.
And we do have it legal in a few states, Oregon, of which it comes to mind right away.
But I guess you shouldn't get into the spiritual mushroom for money, I guess.
Well, we can work on that at that point in time, but we still got to work on our industry right now because we still have guys with multi-million-dollar pocketbooks that are the ones who are trying to push the industry right now. And not all of them are actually from the actual industry, and they don't exactly know the industry as well as those folks who were running the quote-unquote legacy market in the day.
I got to put that up here. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, because I guess black market is now officially a politically incorrect statement treatment, though it makes sense to me. Just in a world where things are black and white, whether there's gray areas and things of that sort. There's other nuances to that term, so I don't see it as an issue. But those who do, I mean, we're willing to play along as long as everybody knows, as long as everybody is still on the same page at the end of the day. And we know what we're talking about. The ones, the legalized versus those who are working under the radar, so to speak. Because under the radar, you have no regulations, which if you care about the product, isn't going to make a damn bit of difference. If you have somebody who works in the legacy market who really, really cares about the quality of their product in regards to no solvents left over, no insecticides, fungicides, etc., or those who are just into it for the money, who we lovingly call Chads.
I like how you call them Chads.
That's just being nice.
No, and I like the fact that switching from black market to legacy market, I can see how black market is racist, right? But I like the fact that legacy market gives it kind of turns it around. It's not trying to give a negative connotation to where we came from,
I mean, I'll grant you anything having to do with cannabis for most of us out here has been a learning curve. Even those of us who've been smoking for the last, say, 30, 40 years or so, it's still a legacy because back in the day, we had brickweed, of Acapulco Gold, Mexican Brown, to Panama Red, and Thai Stick, which was the closest we had to concentrates besides, Frenchie's bubble hash, God rest his soul. The hash man has left us, but he left his legacy.
Yeah, man, I miss weed in the 90s. It was simple.
You missed it in the 90s, or you were there, but you don't remember it?
It was a simple time. You had Crippy and Regs. And then Mids came around and fucking flipped everybody out. There's like, oh, you can be in between the two? Oh, my God. What happened? Like, it's like people just kind of like stopped smoking weed in the 80s, didn't they?
And you know what also was a kind of like a
because the 90s brought it back, right? Like that's like 60s was a lot of potheads everywhere. Everybody was smoking weed. 70s just drugs.
I think the reason they no longer make double albums is because there's no seeds left in cannabis to go ahead and use them for slides. I'm just saying, because that's what we use double albums for.
What's a double album?
Oh my God. Am I that OG?
You are.
Yeah, it's
people nowadays, Gary, it'd be like, what's a cassette tape?
I've been told that LPs are making a comeback right now. It's very retro to have a turntable and to actually have black vinyl records with little tiny grooves on them that you put the needle down. All of a sudden, music comes out.
I'm sure there's an article about that somewhere, but it's not making as much money as digital music right now.
Well, yeah, I read an article about that. That's all fake.
Digital music is fake?
Absolutely. I've been told, based on do your own research, you'll find it out.
Oh, would you watch a YouTube video? This is like the Earth is flat and music is fake.
I actually saw a couple on YouTube yesterday was talking about the fact that this woman said that her family are lobster people over there in Maine, and her brother, he went out there and he took his boat out way past the line, almost to Canada, and never came back. You know why?
Why?
Because he probably fell off the side of the earth because the earth is flat. And that's all there is to it. And that's my Maine accent. I have relatives in Maine. That's exactly how they talk about it. Got to
like,
work on the nets in the harbor.
Flat earthers are increasing in numbers the world round.
Well, if you talk enough cannabis, you'll realize that the world is not round.
Hey, so I want to transition here, man.
Oh, really? Congratulations! Did you go to the doctor for that?
I mean, I'm not sexually,
okay.
But topically.
Because I was gonna sit here and watch. It was fun.
So, and I just like, I'm not even giving a shit. I just like, I want to talk about something else.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, we're 40 minutes into the show. We got some fucking shit that we got to say and stuff.
Yes, we do. And this is important. And by the way, before we get into that, congratulations to our our friend Yoshi, who has the La Rotacion when she gets back, because she had a baby. And
wee little baby.
Well, it's gonna get bigger, but so far it's little. And what is really, really cool is that her significant other went to the hospital with her with this shirt on, showing Mickey Mouse hands rolling a joint. And I think that is just absolutely cool because, I mean, babies can be stressful when they come out.
To be clear, it's not like he changed into the shirt. He probably like was wearing the shirt and just had to fucking go. The baby was coming.
See now, okay, but let's get into the.
Hold on, Yoshi. Let me put on my I rolled with the best of the Bay shirt.
Yes. So we congratulate Yoshi for having the babe, because we haven't had a chance to talk about that much since we were gone for the last couple of weeks. And we also put out a shout out to all of our friends out there who are not who are in the hospital working on it. Our good friend John Hightower over in Tallahassee is in the hospital right now, and we got a lot of folks who we put out our hearts and minds to, because we love you all, guys. How's that?
Oh shit, I'm supposed to talk right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a member meeting last Thursday.
Sounds like we had a dismember meeting.
I was, not logged into the last half of it. And unfortunately, like I did the member meeting here in the shop, and I had to, like, in the middle of you talking, I had to step out. Okay. So I don't know, maybe you can fill me in on what happened during the meeting or anything like that.
Oh, for part of it at least.
Or at least part of it, yeah.
Yeah, we went out.
Were you in for the first part?
I actually missed the first 15 minutes.
Okay, I was there, so I'll start out.
Okay.
It was nice. Keno got everybody together. He started talking about the shit we did, like the talent show and the Best of the Bay.
Talent show was great.
Yeah, the rolling of the Best of the Bay and stuff like that. But what happened in the last part?
Well, I went over all the bills, which I've only gone through a couple of them so far. We also have the the home grow bill that we were talking about at more length, and discussing all the possibilities in regards to federal legalization, how that's all going to happen. And of course, our membership person talked about his situation, and everybody else discussed all the things that we're going to be working on as far as Suncoast Normal. 200 members strong and growing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to hear. I didn't realize that we had 200 members. That's pretty crazy.
Now, not everybody is as active as they could be, but they are ready and waiting to move forward, and we're there to help you get going.
If you just want to give us money, $25 a year, that's cool too. But we do need help.
Yeah, well. We need your time, your treasure, and your talent.
So what is it? I'm wondering what that means there. So time.
I don't know. I'm not an MBA.
You can volunteer your time. You can show up and you can do things. Your talent, you probably can do something pretty awesome that can help us out. So show up and do that. Or you can share your treasure. You can become a member of Suncoast Normal, $25 a year. Or you can donate more if you want to do a little bit more than that. Or if you want
Or
a business and you want to become a business member and say my business supports the legalization of cannabis, then you can also do that. That's like $500.
that's right.
Yeah.
And of course, we may just lay off you if we feel angry at you if you have already given us money.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if we talk shit about you and on the show and you give us money, I'm sorry.
Out of love, though.
I'm so sorry.
I think our whole point here is we want to improve the system. And I don't think that a system is improved by having a bunch of yes folks always disagreeing with everybody, because there is always issues and there's always ways you can improve.
I agree, Gary. You see, I'm a yes man in
Our
this
system,
situation.
yeah, well, I'll accept it this time. But we need to improve our system here in Florida, and we want you to help us help the system get better. We want to get reciprocity, but we want to get those protections for employees and patients. We want to have more qualifying conditions, and you can make this happen, because we're not going to see adult use anytime soon here in Florida. It's not going to happen legislatively, and it's not going to happen, I don't think, on a ballot initiative. Although I know that the good folks over at Regulate are creating their Regulate 2.0 right now,
Mhm.
and we'll see how well that goes. And we wish them all the luck in the world, because any effort is always appreciated.
Yes, yes. And I mean, we talked a little bit about lobby days earlier, but like, aren't we like, isn't it a time that we're gonna like put together something like a Zoom meeting or something?
Yes, we are,
Yeah.
and we're going to get together. And by the way, what is happening right now, now that we're getting past Labor Day, is that all the counties are going to have what is called legislative delegations,
Mhm.
and that is where citizens, plain old citizens like you and I, can
Yes.
go in front of the legislators for your area and take a listen to what you have to say about what kind of bills you think should be passed this next session.
Mm.
Now, some folks use it to try to say our county needs money for this, that, or the other thing. Other folks just say, yeah, we need to have this rule or regulation passed. It's your chance to shine. It's your chance to go ahead and put things in. If your county is coming up, we'll be glad to go ahead and give you notes you can bring with you and do a great presentation. They usually give you like 2 to 3 minutes, depending on which county it is. I think Orange County is actually coming up this Monday,
You
but
know,
they usually have more than one.
you know what's so great about being involved in these types of things, Gary?
No, what?
Well, I actually like when I complain about like how fucked up the government is, I feel justified because like I actually like made an attempt to try to change things.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna complain about cannabis not being illegal or medical marijuana not working in the state of Florida or things like that, you should probably like try to do something about it. Because if not, you know, the FBI ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Oh, they're
We're-
they're doing something.
I don't know if the FBI is gonna do something. What is the FBI doing?
I mean, they actually doing a lot of investigating in regards to various
I don't.
entities here in Florida. As you,
Is somebody gonna get arrested and is a company going to be shut down?
that is possible.
That is possible.
That is possible, but
Highly unlikely.
we will wait and see what happens. I mean, we for those of you who don't know, that there was a trial these last couple of weeks having to do with the domestic partner slash husband of the CEO of Trulieve, who was involved in some deals that had nothing to do specifically with Trulieve whatsoever,
Uh-huh.
because they were divested. They were separate monetary entities. But sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know and who you're connected with. And sometimes this kind of bad PR does tend to take things down. But one thing that was found out throughout the course of these various FBI investigations and discrete communications is that some folks who actually started cannabis MMTCs here in Florida had no knowledge of cannabis growing or the plant or its medicinal uses to begin with. So it was all a learning curve.
So the Florida cannabis industry started under some illegal terms.
Yes,
Yet people out here in the legacy market
legacy market.
are still being arrested for selling kit. I don't get it. But anyways,
Yeah, but but the thing is, the folks who are involved in the legacy market, especially those involved in cultivation and processing and things of that sort, they know more
yeah,
than the folks who are just getting in here with their MBAs. No offense,
I'm a different kind of
and guys who come here from Pepsi or cereal companies or things of that sort and think that they can get forward. That's why I was concerned when all of a sudden the rules got changed at the very beginning, and they said that if you wanted to be an applicant, you had to have somebody who had 30 years in the industry of growing anything.
Mhm.
And growing roses is not the same thing as growing cannabis.
Right.
Growing tomatoes and peppers, it's closer, but it's still not growing cannabis.
They don't. The peppers don't turn into buds.
No, they don't. I mean, the vegetative stage pretty much stays vegetative. You don't really have to worry about the flowering stage of a ghost pepper.
Yeah.
Just grab the fruit
Except
and run.
eat the pepper.
Eat the pepper.
But
Leave the gun.
no, I mean, but here's my prediction, man. Ain't shit gonna happen. True Leaf is still going to be the #1 cannabis company in Florida, one of the biggest cannabis companies in the nation.
Yeah, now they've added Harvest, and they now
They're-
have 100 dispensaries.
They're at the point where they're traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So maybe Florida is going to slap them with a fine. Maybe Florida is going to say, okay, you can't open more, whatever it is. Or maybe it's going to be a slap on the wrist, right? And the whole industry that has looked down on all of my friends in the legacy market started more corrupt than them.
Now, it just reminds me of the fact that back in my day, those of us who started working on computers were called nerds. And then a decade later, they were called millionaires.
Did you
just remember that?
Did you make $1 million?
I did not. I just decided to stay a nerd.
Damn.
Maybe because I was smoking too much stuff.
Oh, all right.
And it was that $16 an ounce. And yeah, you got that right. $16 an ounce brick weed just washed off the shores.
Oh, I think we're done, Gare Bear.
Mm.
We
made it through, and we haven't even gotten through half the script that I didn't write.
Anything you want to say there before we close out?
If you have a guest star you want us to bring on and talk about, or if you have a law that you want to see going, contact us.
Yeah.
Now, where do they contact us, Bob?
Oh, the email's old. Central at flnormal@gmail.com.
And how do you get membership?
Oh, you go to suncoastnormal.org. Here, I can put it on the screen here. Go to suncoastnormal.org/membership, and you can join us.
And you can contact us through the website.
Yeah, you can contact us through the website or just message us on Facebook.
And just so you know that if you are listening to us right now, you are not on Pornhub.